Okay. I'd like to call to order the November 16th, 2020 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. We'll have a roll call. Commissioner Wilson.
I am here.
Commissioner Cantola.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
And Commissioner Drainville.
Here.
So we'll start with our usual Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have to, don't have a flag here, but we'll Pledge of Allegiance anyhow. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Commissioner Girding. Let it be noted that Commissioner Girding has also joined our meeting. And I guess the first item, first of all, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Brown. Welcome. This is your first meeting, and maybe you want to say a few words about yourself, a little bit about your background, your interest in joining the commission, just so we can know you a little bit through this virtual medium.
All right. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Connor. I just joined the commission back in before COVID started, so around I think March it was. And I just recently moved back to Oakdale from school. I went to school up at Bemidji State University, and I thought being up there and kind of how they have a lot of environmental policies up there on the campus in their sustainability program. Then once I moved back down here, I just wanted to get more involved with everything that was going on because I graduated with a degree in political science, and I'm just looking to work in the community and help better things off. And
Sounds
then I was
great.
I was born in Oakdale and I raised and I went to high school here too. So I have an idea about the area.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the commission. And you're coming in at a good time right now. We're just, we're going to be reviewing our communications plan and our work plan for next year. So good place to be jumping in. So the first item on our agenda for this evening, well, the third item actually, is our approval of meeting minutes from our October 19th meeting. Those were sent out with our information for this meeting, and I want to know if anybody has any changes they would like to make to those meeting minutes. Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
Ooh, Bonnie
Do you
got
have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the October 19th, 2020 meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. So next we have our management reports and the environmental communication strategy update. At our last meeting, we talked about environmental communications, especially during these times when we cannot meet together or hold public forums to promote our work plan and opportunities to the residents and to businesses in Oakdale. So we asked that Shannon, our city staff person, put together a communication strategy for next year. Or actually it can start this year, but we're really looking at what we need to do to advance our work plan for 2021. So Shannon, I know you've had an opportunity to talk with the communications specialist for the city of Oakdale, and why don't you give us an update on where things are at?
Definitely. Thank you, Chair Miller. So I wanted to take a moment to recognize that at our last meeting, there were quite a few comments about how we are making sure that we're promoting all of the different priorities that the EMC has and the methods by which we are promoting those different priorities. And so what I did was really sat down with our communications specialist, Alyssa McLeod, and said, okay, how do we be a little bit more proactive about this? How can we make sure that we have an annualized approach to promoting the EMC's priorities? And the way that that's really going to look is by focusing on an editorial calendar. So that editorial calendar is going to be a snapshot on a yearly basis of what those priorities are, the rolling priorities the EMC has. So things like energy efficiency, water conservation, waste reduction and recycling, those types of things that we want to make sure we are pushing content out to individuals on a rolling basis across the year. That will be included in this annual calendar, but it will also include themes that we feel like are particularly seasonal. So I did make sure and look up different days, weeks, months that have relevance to the EMC to make sure that those specific themes we're hitting on at certain times throughout the year. So for example, at our last meeting in October, we recognized the fact that October is Energy Awareness Month. Having that on an annual calendar will make sure that Alyssa has the opportunity to be a little bit more mindful about those things coming up and can prepare whatever promotion we think is most relevant at that time ahead of time. So the goal again here with this policy is try to be as proactive as possible about the EMC's priorities as opposed to reactionary when things pop up.
That's
I
great.
did also want to mention that
Go ahead.
Alyssa is going to be able to visit us at some point in time later on to give a report on the types of content that she's pushing through social media. She's going to be tracking that so that there is a little bit more feedback on how this policy is shaping throughout the year. So hopefully, again, in the future, we'll be able to have her on one of our commission meetings so that she can report out from more of a database perspective how this strategy is unfolding. And obviously, I want to make sure to give you guys the opportunity to express if there's anything that you feel like needs to be in this sort of annual editorial calendar. In particular, if there are any themes that are popping up that you want to make sure that we're hitting on, or any other policy perspective that needs to be captured in this communication plan, I'd love to hear that feedback.
That sounds great. Thank you. I think that having this kind of proactive approach will really be a big step forward. And I would ask all of the commissioners to think about input on different things coming up that go along with our objectives for the year. And if you hear of things from various newsletters going on and that through CERTs or the watershed district or other sources where we get our information, please communicate those to Shannon, and she can work with the communication specialist to get those on the calendar and get those communicated appropriately through appropriate channels to our residents and businesses. And I think that depending on what the event is or what it, or who the target audience is probably will dictate the communication method. And I see in the write-up that you have various methods and, you know, and timing as well, like for the Oakdale update and that, and then the monthly emailing that goes out now to with information about what's happening in the different commissions. So yeah, that sounds great. I guess I'd like to open this up for discussion if anybody has some comments or input on this.
Just a few brief ones, if I may, Chair Miller. Shannon, this is fantastic. I mean, from an intentional strategy perspective, the framework that you used, I think you called it the principles, but they're really like fundamentals to any kind of editorial calendar or content calendar. So I love that this seems to be the beginnings of just as this gets rolling, right? Like I'm always thinking like 3 to 5 years down the road, just a plug and play kind of thing with what your colleagues are already doing, and how can this commission just not necessarily make more work, but complement the work and support the work that's already happening and message it out to our networks and audiences. I like that it's multi-modes in thinking, and again, the concept of an editorial or content calendar is fantastic. So just a quick kudos to you, and that's my quick feedback. And this is as Keith, to echo what Keith had said, it sets us up really for some good things, I think, in the coming year. So thank you for your work on this. That was a quick pivot, I must say. So thank you.
The communications specialist, Alyssa, is very excited about this as well. So we've got all guns blazing on this strategy.
That always helps. Great. Yeah, any other comments, discussion on this? So I guess I would just ask the commissioners as they, as you go through your regular, you know, resources and reading about things happening and environmental issues around the Twin Cities, if there's anything that comes up that you think should be in the calendar, to provide that to Shannon. All right. Yeah. Well done, Shannon. Thank you very much for that. And we'll move along to our next item, which is the review of the 2021 work plan. And we discussed this in pretty good detail at our last meeting, as the meeting minutes have that. And so I think tonight, I would like to just go through this, the main actions. We can get into some of the details if you have questions or about those, or want to add something or change something there. I think that, you know, just in reviewing this again, that we have everything in the plan, I think, at this point. I think maybe on some of these, we want to have some further, you know, targets as far as actual, you know, actions, specific actions that'll be taken place at a certain time or by a certain time. Because I think we want them to be, you know, time specific for the year, to make sure that we're meeting our action plan as we go through the year. So, you know, I think that's something that we can note and maybe add to that, or at least have that as backup to this, to the plan, that we know when things might be coming that we need to act on, such as like the Solar Twin Cities program and that type of thing. Shannon, do you have anything you, oh, Bonnie, go ahead.
I'm wondering about the Mpca grant. Is Shannon going to request that, or what's going to happen with that?
So is this grant that you're talking about the one for the level 2 charging stations for electric vehicles?
Yes.
Yeah, so I am going to be attending the information session on November 18th. I believe that's in 2 days, to get a little bit more understanding about timeline of that grant, requirements for that grant, whether or not we would be ready by the time the grant is dispensed to start to install some charging stations in the first place. So I am looking into that, and we'll have a little bit more information after Wednesday.
Great.
Yes, I think that with that, I think if we do have that opportunity to get some grant money for a charging station, yeah, if you can just, after the 18th, when you attend that, if you could send us a note and let us know where that stands.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a time that has to be in, like by the end of the year or something, so that we don't miss that opportunity. And I think if that opportunity comes up, that we should just move ahead on it. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but if you do, please say so. But I think if that opportunity comes up, we should just have Shannon go ahead and start working on that grant to meet any due date. So thank you for bringing that up, Bonnie. Next, well, let's go through this charging station. I think there were some also zoning things that may or may not have happened over the last, during this year. And so, Shannon, maybe have you had a chance to see if any of the zoning or code amendments have taken place?
Yeah, so there were quite a few zoning and subdivision code ordinance changes that Jen had proposed to be in line with some of her findings from the 2019 EV study. She did go ahead and draft up new language for all of those ordinances, but none of that has been codified or formalized yet. So my plan is to take what she's already drafted, incorporate that into what I am researching for this new EV charging station site selection study. That's sort of the EV 2.0 study, as it were. The policy recommendations that she had will be part of that particular study as well. I don't honestly know a lot about the timeline for getting what she's drafted formalized, but I will ask Bob about it, and I'm sure he will tell me everything that I need to know.
Okay, great. Yeah, if that's something that can be moving forward now, that would be great. Get that done so that if there are opportunities for installing stations, we have the codes already there.
Yep. Yeah, and that is specifically in the plan for 2021, is to make sure that we can get those drafts that Jen had put in place updated.
Great. And I threw out at the last meeting about the city fleet, and I see that there is an item here, analyze city fleet requirements for installing EV charging stations throughout Oakdale. I'm wondering about also, I am wondering if we could include, because I don't see it in here anywhere else, looking at electric vehicles for the city fleet. So I don't know that, I think Jen had looked at this in the past for the city fleet, and there weren't a lot of opportunities, and that mainly the city fleet is our trucks and that, rather than automobiles. The only cars would be, I think, police cars, and those have specific requirements, and I don't know that there's any EV that meets those requirements presently, or anybody making electric vehicles for police. So I just would if we could take a look at that once again, just to make sure there aren't opportunities for that.
Yeah, currently that bucket that's in the 2021 work plan that mentions that fleet karma study. So that's very much having a third party come in and do an assessment, more or less, of the fleet to understand what capacity Oakdale currently has within its fleet, and then where there might be opportunities to make some changes, some tweaks, whether that be purchasing an electric vehicle or just making some slightly different energy efficient decisions with the fleet itself. So that's kind of the first step as I'm envisioning it as part of this 2021 study, to do that sort of groundwork before then having the conversation about whether or not we may be able to purchase any future vehicles. So right now, it's not that that's off the table. It's just that as I've conceptualized it currently, it's starting with having that fleet karma study and then going from there based on their recommendations.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other comments on this first action around EV charging station siting and selection, completion, and implementation of that? No? Okay. And then the next action, we've got our promote energy efficiency and renewable energy in both residential and commercial properties. And I think we had a good discussion of that and have in our description there what we can do.
I was wondering if we could also promote wind source, which is what Gretel mentioned at our last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I looked into it and it is really simple, and I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, and that's something that we could do in, let's see. Well, that could be done in this item, but also as we go through, during a bill clinic too, there might be an opportunity to mention that to people, the wind source, because they break down what everything in the bill, what it means and all that, and that would be an opportunity to promote wind source as well. Okay, anything else on this goal, or are we good on that? Adding wind source as another Excel program there. Okay, I'll take that as there's no further discussion. I know we discussed this last month. I just want to verify that people didn't have thoughts on other things for this during the past month. So next is our reduce waste goal and increase recycling. And we have that grant program, and again, want to be leveraging those funds from the county. And so that is once again a goal for us. Any further discussion there? No?
Just one
Okay.
quick one, Chair. Sorry, Chair. Where
Yeah,
does just a question? Where does, and I could be totally off base here. So where does organics fit into everything?
Well, the organics was being done by Washington County. They were leading the organics program. And so we were just going to do whatever the county was promoting and coming up with for handling organics. And I haven't heard anything about that, but it wouldn't be any action we needed to take except when organics recycling is available, that we'd be able to then implement that in Oakdale. That's right. Shanna, you're knocking your head, so I assume that's right. Do you have anything further to add? If you have any update on where that stands with the county?
So yes, the organics program is very much owned by the county. One of the projects that we had, that Oakdale had committed to in 2020 was promoting the organics program. And right now, what that looks like for the rest of the year is just Alyssa is trying to be intentional about scheduling a few social media posts that originate from Washington County that she can really quickly push out there to meet that grant requirement for 2020. When we do re-up our grant money with Washington County in 2021, if we wanted to, we could make really trying to hone in on the organics program one of our projects for 2021. So whether that be just being a little bit more intentional about promoting organic composting in our editorial calendar, whether that be trying to think of something a little bit more creative to do around the organics program, we can set that up for 2021. But it very much does come from Washington County.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll want to make sure that we're tracking that, and when it's available, that we do a good job of promoting that within the city.
Sounds good.
All right, let's move along to the promote water conservation, and we have our promote adopt a drain. And yeah, I think we want to be able to communicate this program. I think, well, you know, with the fall and leaves, it would have been great, but it looks like we missed that opportunity here in communicating about this program. I will be talking on our development. We have a board meeting tomorrow, or no, Wednesday, and I will be mentioning this program in our next newsletter, also mentioning the program and keeping drains clear of debris throughout the rest of the fall and the winter. And but I think that this would be one to put on our calendar to do in the springtime when the snow melts, like in, you know, March, April, because that's when we're going to see that buildup of debris from over the winter and that, and from snow melt and all the things going to the storm drains. So we can, and then to also then in the fall when the leaves, you know, in October probably, to really get out a reminder of people to remove leaves from the storm drains and not to blow leaves into the gutter or whatever. You know, make sure they keep them off the street so they don't go down the storm drain. Yeah.
Chair Miller,
Yes.
is it useful to include like salt awareness? Like obviously feel free to be safe, but during the winter time to keep, because the adopted drain is to ultimately keep things out of our wetlands and out of our waterways. Maybe during the winter when we can't physically be out there cleaning, we can at least draw awareness to like over seasoning your driveway.
Yeah. I think
At least
that's a
keep it
good thing to
topical.
add. And there have been other cities that have had particular salt programs. Yeah, the one,
Edina, I think, is really big into it. They tried to pass ordinances, if I'm not mistaken, from when we had gone to that, where the commissioners got together. I was in a group with a few women from Edina in one of the breakouts, and they were super into it.
yeah, I remember that. I'm glad you remember the city. 'Cause I didn't, but
She
I
made an
may have a-
impression. I remember that.
yeah, I may have a card from that yet to follow up. I'll see, but yeah, it would be good to benchmark what they're doing because it sounded like they had a real aggressive program there. Because that is important. Keep the salt out of the from going into the holding ponds and into wetlands. Okay, and that would be a good one to promote, especially in the winter here. So the timing on this, if we could get that ready for some communications about salt and so Commissioner Drainville, if you have that information somewhere, I'll also look for it, but maybe we can get that to Shannon to if
I'll try and dig back and see. That was like 2 moves ago, so I will absolutely do my best. I might not still have that card, but I remember the woman, and it was like she carried a teaspoon around with her because a teaspoon of salt can, yeah, you remember that? Oh my gosh, I forget what the correlation was now, but it was like a teaspoon of salt can sully essentially like 5 gallons of water or 50 gallons of water, something like that. So I'll try and dig back, but it's a little iffy if I've got that info. We might
Yeah.
just be able to Google it though and find like the Edina Environmental Commission and then reach out to them as a whole, because she might not even be on the commission. That was 3 years ago, I think. So
yeah, that's can always contact the Edina. Yeah, look on their website.
yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, the next one were the zoning regulations for solar. And so again, updating the zoning code. And has something also been drafted there?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And I know we have Council Member Olson on the line here. I saw her mention chat, she's on. And so do the zoning changes, do they need to go to the city council then for final approval?
I don't know for sure, but I
Okay.
can get an understanding of that for you and update you on at our next meeting.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Olson says she believes so. So,
I
yeah,
thought they
your help
denied them
there.
last time. Didn't they deny our original request because it didn't have the appropriate amount of information or something, or they wanted to relook at something?
Yeah, that sounds familiar, that there was something
Yeah.
to make sure that there weren't, was it something about the angle of the
Solar panels or something, right?
solar panels? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was like August or September of last year, potentially, that they had looked to review that. And then it got bumped and then COVID happened. But I think that they did review it and they had denied it. And I don't know if it's been brought back up. I don't know if we have the ability to re-bring it up. I don't know how that works.
Okay, yeah, we should check that out because we would, if there is something about that that needs to be revised before it goes back to the city council for approval. Okay, we can
And there's
bring that up to
possibility
them.
that Jen might have tweaked some of the language before she transitioned into her new role. So I'll double check and see if I can figure out where exactly this draft is coming from.
Yeah, I think there was some language about just the angle of the panels and, you know, if it's going panels on a roof or if they're going on a flat roof or something where they are angled. Okay, but we'll let's check that one out and we'll want to have that also updated before next spring when we can start installing again. And then the SolSmart designation. So, you know, we've been part of the SolSmart. There was a study and we were involved in that, 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. And so we can achieve SolSmart bronze designation, and I'm not no longer remember what exactly that the bronze designation is, but I don't know if you have that information, Shannon.
I looked it up the other day and I could not tell it to you again off the top of my head, but I did look it up and I can get a little bit more information on it.
Okay, just yeah, if you have some information, if it's something, if we need to do something in particular for that designation, or if it's just you need to submit some information on what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah, I do know for a fact that in order to achieve bronze level, there are very specific requirements that they're looking for from a zoning perspective and variety of things. So there's a checklist, as far as I'm aware, online that would help guide us in the right direction.
Okay, great. Okay, then the next one, connect low-income residents to weatherization and EE resources. And that was the Citizens Utility Board Bill Clinic, and this is host a Bill Clinic. I guess we can host that virtually, or we can communicate when they're having a Bill Clinic. So that may be more that we communicate to residents about an online Bill Clinic, since we won't actually be physically hosting one. And I don't think we'd be hosting on our website even, or hosting on a Zoom meeting or something, a Bill Clinic. We'd actually just have them connect. So maybe we could change the wording on that one slightly so it reflects that, how we'll communicate that. Yeah. All right. Let's move along then, unless there's comments. No? Okay. Our Green Step Cities goals, and those are around the completing a bike and pedestrian plan, and also about the second one, to increase active transportation alternatives to car travel. And Yeah, so this one, I know that they were delayed with this, and I think you provided some information as I read through the notes here on that. And so maybe, I guess, do you have an update on that, Shannon?
So it's kind of a nebulous update, but it's basically to say that even though things were delayed because of COVID, the plan is still very much to complete this bike ped plan update in 2021. I don't have a good idea of the timeline of that. I'm not sure that there is a way to get a good timeline update on that, just because the situation with COVID is ever evolving and it changed on a consistent basis. But again, the goal is to make sure that that's wrapped up in 2021.
Okay. I think the important thing there is that we're tied in with that in some way. And yeah, and of course, I was going to be on the team. I haven't heard anything either, but I was going to be on the team of people that were giving input on the bike and pedestrian plan. I do a lot of biking in the city, and so they were, and I also helped them recruit some people for their team that bike through a lot in Oakdale. So, and commute as well. So, yeah, so if we can just make sure that we're involved in some way as they develop that plan next year, that would be great. And yeah, I know, and I've stated this before, I think, but you know, I know the city of St. Paul, I sat through one of their meetings with their bike and pedestrian planning for the Gold Line as well, and that they're planning to hook up a whole trail system from like the Lake Phelan area to the Gold Line along Johnson Parkway, if you know that area of the city, and have a separate pedestrian and a separate bike lane going to the Gold Line. So that that type of thing is something I think we should be looking at, planning for that the Gold Line will be going through in the future, and yeah, connecting with that Helmo station. Okay, and then our metrics. Once we get our metrics, that's always fun to go look at the data from 2020, figure out where we're at, and then where, you know, what additional actions we need to make sure that we're continuing to improve, because that is one of the requirements of the Green Step cities, staying at step 5, is that we're continuing to improve on key metrics. So want to make sure we stay on track with that as we get our data for 2020. So as we went through this, did anybody else have other things that we need to put into our priorities for next year? No?
I think that gives us plenty to focus on, especially kind of to Shannon's point. We're not quite sure what next year is going to look like, right? I mean, you know, probably through at least this time next year, we'll be at some sort of debilitating capacity just due to the environment. So I think being able to focus our message and get some stuff out there, but knowing that it's not going to be a full tilt sort of effort, you know, just for safety. I honestly, I think we have a pretty good plan with some kind of aggressive, you know, or outreach for a time when outreach is a little difficult.
Yes, I agree. And I think that having that communication strategy will be really helpful, especially during these COVID times. So at least we'll be communicating to people about opportunities and actions they can take. And I think that'll be really helpful, even in these times when we can't meet face to face or have people go out and do things. And so that's going to really help us. We weren't, really ready for that last year, and didn't know how severe things would be for a while. But now we know that we're in for this for at least through this winter. So it's great that we have that communication strategy and put together. So I think we do have plenty on this work plan to keep us busy next year with things. And are there any other items that were not on our agenda this evening that you'd like to bring up? No? Okay. One thing I think that came up at our last meeting was our own adopt a drain. The commissioners, we've adopted the drains by the police station there, kind of by near the tennis courts in the park. So I don't know that, I think we finished the schedule that we had drafted, and we probably are back to the beginning, and we've got now Connor on our team, as well as Karen Jackson. So so we can add them to the schedule as well. And because I think, have any of you been out to clean? When was the last time the drains were looked at? I think Commissioner Girding, you were there in September.
I think mine was, I want to say mine was August. I think it was I did it twice, once in mid-August, and I think once on August 31st or September 1st or something. Or maybe I emailed everybody on September 1st, but I can't remember who was after September or August, or if we just said timeout. Can't recall.
I think we might have.
Okay.
So maybe we should get another schedule together for starting in December. And Shannon, could you put together a schedule of just commissioners by month starting in December, and go throughout the year and send that out to us? And you can do a random selection.
Can you also resend the map so we're sure we're doing the ones we said we were going to do?
Yes. I will look through and see what Jen did, and then probably just copy it.
Yeah.
All right. And I was assuming that all of the commissioners agreed with continuing our adoption of those storm drains. Okay, great. All right. So if there's no other items to discuss this evening, our next meeting is January 11th. And that is a change. Normally we meet on the third Monday, but that is Martin Luther King Day. So we'll be meeting on January 11th, the preceding Monday, and that'll also probably be the same for February as well, as we usually do that. So if there is no other items, I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning our November 16th, 2020 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays, you guys.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks, everyone. Annan, appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith. Right.
Thank you, Noah.